We are here to open up the April 17th City of Port Angeles Council meeting. We have a roll call, please.
Mayor Wood,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Dexter,
Here.
Councilmember French,
Here.
Councilmember Kidd,
Here.
Councilmember Meredith,
Here.
Councilmember Moran,
Here.
Councilmember Sherman Martin,
Here.
Manager McKean,
Here.
Attorney Greenwood.
Here. Thank you. And folks, make sure that the last person back there can hear you, because I know, and also if you notice when you do your recordings, the closer you speak into your mic, the easier it is for everybody else to hear you. So I don't know if you want to speak your mic in, because I know that sometimes it's harder for folks to hear. All right, so the next thing we've got is the Arbor Proclamation. Thank you. Pledge of allegiance, guys. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. As soon as you get a short meeting, and here I am just going through this. So now we're into the Ann Arbor Proclamation. And so I'm going to read this proclamation. This is one of those things that is going to get us to our Tree City USA requirements. And so we're grateful to have it. So here it is, Ann Arbor Day Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for planting trees, the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, and whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world with National Arbor Day celebration on April 27, 2018. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion on our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife, and whereas trees serve as city infrastructure, protecting and enhancing our 6 creek corridors, marine bluffs, open spaces, and contributing to our community's quality of life, and whereas trees are a renewable resource given to paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products, and whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and the beauty of our community, and whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Sissy Burke, Mayor of Port Angeles, do hereby proclaim April 27th, 2018 as Arbor Day in the city of Port Angeles, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to promote our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. That is our Arbor Day Proclamation. Okay. Any comments? No? Okay. On to public comment. So, is there anybody out there in the audience who would like to speak to the council on any item whatsoever? Don't be shy. I know. All right. Well, it looks like we don't have anybody who's interested in talking to us today. So we will move on to public comment. So late items. Council, do we have any late items?
I have one that I'd like to bring up. While I was studying at Franklin last week, I had the opportunity to meet Martin Brewer, the new superintendent. And I just wanted to check in with council and see if we might be in agreement that we could invite him to a meeting to just introduce himself to us at some point in the near future as he gets settled, and that maybe our staff and his staff could organize a meeting that works for him and us. If that's something that people would be interested in, thought it would be a nice way to introduce him to Port Angeles.
I think that's a good idea. Do you guys want to put it under other consideration and then talk about it and put it in here? All right, so we will put it as the first item under other consideration.
I'd like to add just a discussion of the open work session slots and the interviews of those in 2018. And also just consideration of the process for the think tank. The first one we have scheduled on Thursday.
Okay, open work session topics, and then think tank.
Was I close enough to the mic for people in the back? Barely.
Barely, okay, so.
So I am the offender.
You are the
then.
offender.
I'll
No,
make a council.
I was told, but absolutely. I spoke with a couple of people and I said, please make sure everybody's speaking, so. Yeah. Okay, so on to,
Mayor and council,
yes,
maybe to make things a little bit more efficient, staff would be glad to make the arrangement for the new superintendent to come. I have a feeling the council would unanimously want to do that, rather than make it a separate item. Why don't we just make it happen, and we'll get our staff to work with their staff to make it happen, if that's good for the council.
yes.
Yes.
Yes, all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so we'll go on to the consent agenda. Are there any items that anybody would like to pull off from the consent agenda? All right, Councilman Murphy?
I just have a comment on number 6, Stonegarden grant acceptance. This is so good for our community, and I applaud this, and I'm happy to see that it's being renewed.
Any other comments on the consent agenda?
Just like to thank Craig Fulton for providing us with these lovely specs on the new purchases. I do know the difference between a mower and a tractor now. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Mayor Burke. So I spoke with Steve, is it Steve Burke?
James Burke.
James Burke.
Deputy Director of Operations, right?
So he had an excellent idea. And that is if we could get a presentation at the beginning of the year, since the city knows all the vehicles it's going to replace, have them so that we kind of know, even though will be later in the year, it would be nice to know what vehicles we're replacing. And then come May or November or whenever, then we already know, yeah, we saw that at the beginning of the year. And then everybody's kind of on the same page, this is what we're replacing. And I'm not looking for everything something does, but just basically, this is the mower that mows this, or this tractor's used for this, or this pickup's used for this maintenance guy, and instead he needs a van to do this.
And visuals help quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, just a quick picture, this is what it is, next. Not looking for a 2-hour presentation on something, but it would be nice to know ahead of time what we're doing for the year.
I don't see any issues
No,
from our
there-
point of view.
There would be no issue. In fact, it is part of the CFP, or Capital Facilities Plan, and what we can do is take that segment out. We can have a standardized approach. We can talk to the council ahead of time to make sure that the information we provide on each vehicle will be there, because I know we can have that standardized approach and make sure that we provide you with the information that you'll need or would like to have as we go through that. So that'd be a great idea.
Yeah, I also think that's a great idea, and it just in sorts of that, when we talk, a lot of times we'll have this little line about how much maintenance has been spent in the last few years, which I appreciate, but if there's any breakdown of that, and we can go to the presentation level, that would be nice, so I can kind of just have an idea of what the maintenance is looking like, what the repair schedule is looking like.
Any other comments on the consent agenda? All right, so let me read the consent agenda. The City Council minutes for April 3rd, 2018, expenditure report from March 24th, 2018 to April 6th, 2018 in the amount of $1,335,740.45. Vehicle replacement, Parks Department pickup number 1856. Vehicle replacement, Parks Department tractor number 1884. Vehicle replacement, Parks Department mower number 5331. Stonegarden grant acceptance, Department of Ecology local solid waste financial assistance grant, and the last one is metal recycling facility fence contract, CON-2018-01.
I move to accept the consent agenda as read.
Second.
All right, so we got a motion on the table and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor of the agenda and of the motion for the consent agenda as read, please say aye.
Aye.
All no? Okay, it's a unanimous decision. So we have no public hearings, no ordinances. The next item, we have our other considerations. So, and Lindsay, under that one, we had the open works section topics.
Yeah, so I appreciate the schedule for the work sessions, which are our fourth Tuesday of the month. And we had a few open times in there, so I just want to throw out some things that I thought would be useful as work session topics, and, you know, if other people think other things might be more valuable. But I looked at the staff work plan for the year, and 4 things struck me as presentation worthy or of interest, at least to me. One was the Community Care Medicine Program on page 11, and another was the Capital Facilities Plan for 2018 to 2023, which is page 12.
I'm sorry, what was the last one?
Oh, the Capital Facilities Plan for 2018 to 2023, which is page 12 of the work plan. The Affordability Index on page 13 of the work plan, and the Housing Needs Assessment on page 14. And I don't want to tie staff's hands in terms of deadlines for those. I also know that having a presentation can sometimes prompt things to happen too. So those are things that I'd be interested in seeing on the work session schedule.
So just one comment, and those are great topics, but the CFP, I would take that off that list only because you're going to have dedicated sessions on the capital's facilities plan. You're going to get quite a bit of information on that. So that will have its own dedicated time, but the other ones won't. So they would be those kind of activities that could be in a work session. But just so you know, you're going to get that whether you want it or not, actually.
So I thought that we were having a housing assessment being done. Where is that?
That is the item that Mr. Sherman mentioned. It is in the work plan. One slight concern is that the ideal would be to start on that much earlier than some of those open work sessions. I think, if I recall correctly, some of the open work sessions aren't until August. And my hope would be that we dive into that much sooner. But that I also anticipate, it certainly was a big topic of conversation today over at the county, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's a topic of conversation at Thursday's upcoming think tank, and it may be a conversation that we want to have much earlier. Just a thought, but very open to adding it as a work session as well.
So if we were to have that one earlier, because I know that that's definitely a hot topic, when is the earliest we can have it?
Where's the list on the work session?
Is that something that we should set a separate date? If we have an open Tuesday, or do you have, do we need to just set aside a new Thursday, because I know that the housing assessment was something that we'd all talked about that earlier and having it done sooner. So what would be the earliest you could do it?
So as far as actually having the housing assessment as in a report format, that is not something that I'm anticipating having in the next few weeks. But as far as if council wants to inform the outcome, to basically say these are key ingredients that we absolutely want to see incorporated in that report, want to see as part of ultimately what is researched, what is built into the outcome, then that discussion should happen sooner rather than later. But I think realistically, probably fall of this year is when we would expect to have a completed report.
So we could probably do that at our next council meeting and just kind of spend 10 minutes kind of brainstorming what are the things that should go in that assessment. Does that seem like a good thing to add to the council meeting?
You could do that, or you're going to be talking about think tanks in a minute. That's the kind of round the table discussion where you might want to consider during that discussion, or that menu, I mean, also.
Okay. At this point, okay, go ahead.
Has the city moved forward in any direction with the vacation rental issue?
The city has not, but it is one of the issues that is to be looked at as part of the housing needs assessment.
It'll be included in that.
It's part of that analysis, correct?
Any other questions?
Did we make a decision on our next work session? I remember we were talking about it, I can't remember what was decided.
So your next work session, which would be this month, there was going to be a council staff retreat, and then there was something else, I believe, that the council had set up during that time. Part of the issue with that is that normally that would happen through the city manager's office. I would be intimately involved in that, be dragging in the mayor to have a discussion about that, setting it up. And of course, I spent my last week out of town, so it sounds like it got, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was something else that came up during that time, the fourth Tuesday. There's something else that some of you are attending, I believe.
I have on my calendar for the fourth Tuesday, the citizen group, the PA Tree Board, is planning a meeting kind of as an organizing event for that. And that's at the Port Angeles Library at 6 p.m.
Yeah, I think that might have been what it was. So, and I think when we do the retreat, it's one of those things we would want 100% participation, everybody there on both sides.
Okay, so the 24th is adapted.
Well, I told the tree board that I won't be attending their meeting
Okay.
because I assumed that we had a city council event and then our event was canceled, and so.
Well, that's what happens when I'm away. My information was inaccurate, so I will take that one on me, but I think.
We could probably use, as council, we could probably use that time if we want to go ahead and, whether we want to talk about the housing assessment
That would be a
at
good
that
time for
point.
that.
And then potentially, whether, I don't know if this is the community paramedic issue that you talked about. I mean, we might be able to get a couple little ones, because they're not that big to, and then therefore, we can get some of these topics crossed off and done.
A number of the things in the work plan are, I mean, I'm not even sure if the community paramedicine program is, I mean, it's something that's staff, specifically the fire department, is working on, I think, right? Can I put you on the spot, Chief?
Go ahead, Bob.
So you're looking at the upcoming meeting, is that what you're talking about, sorry?
Well, I was just looking at the work session schedule and seeing that later in the year, we had some openings, and there's, or the council work sessions, and there's some things in the work plan for staff, such as the community paramedicine program, that I'd be really excited to hear in more detail, which is kind of how we've been using the work sessions, to go in depth on a particular topic. And so I don't want to make something happen faster than it really can. At the same time, I think the community paramedicine program is a really exciting thing that we're working on, and it would be great to update the council on it at the appropriate time. I don't know if that's the fall or the summer or next year. I'm not sure.
Well, I can tell you that basically from our perspective, I could speak to that with 5 minutes notice.
Okay.
So it's.
So maybe that might be a perfect topic then to add to the Tuesday, because then I know that we've done an affordability index, and we're planning on doing a new one. That would also be worthwhile going through the old one, so, and then potentially seeing where the new one's going to be coming. So I don't know if that's something that staff would be willing to do or not, or our Tuesday.
Are you here next Tuesday? Or are you going?
This kind of feels like a Wild West.
It does, well, we're giving it a go. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
I could certainly
Councilman Medford, your decision is the key to flexibility.
I have one on the 25th of May.
But I had planned on being at that Arbor group because I want to be informed about that. And I think we've been a tree city. My time on the council, I want to restore it. I want to be knowledgeable about that. And so I feel that that is an obligation I would like to fulfill, is to attend that informational meeting so I can be knowledgeable and help assist us getting on the path to being Tree City USA again.
So I did just talk to Chief Dubuque, and he informed me that, yes, he could do it with 5 minutes notice as long as he's not on vacation. Apparently Tuesday, he's on vacation. So we're having a little back and forth back here. But,
So it looks like Tuesday is out then.
for paramedicine, it's out.
And also, you know, especially if Councilmember Kidd wants to attend that and, you know, so we'll just cancel that next Tuesday evening meeting. Since we won't be having the retreat, and since folks want to attend that meeting, that's at the same time, so there's a conflict.
We need
There
more
is.
lead time for our calendars.
So one of the things too, and this is a good discussion because we can start getting some of this lead time out that you're talking about, but another thing to consider next month is going to be a little bit busy. One of the things that the county asked for and the city council asked for, county commissioners and city council, was a joint meeting. And so I was just handed a note that while I was gone, it looks like we've been trying to coordinate that, and it looks like we have a tentative date of May 17th down that works for the county. And since we're talking about meetings, we'll just bring it up now rather than later. It looks like that works for the county if it works for the city council. And I know that there are some, and I'll get that out to you tomorrow, but there are some items that the county would like to put on a joint agenda, and we can talk about that. And one of them, I'm going off memory now, but one of them is affordable housing, surprise. One of them is stormwater. One of them is an update on our combined criminal justice efforts, primarily our district court prosecution services, how we've consolidated that with the contract. Just an update on that. The fourth one, and there were 4, and the fourth one escapes me, but I'll get an email out to the council what the county would like to discuss, and we still have time to come back at our next meeting and kind of tighten up a joint schedule and get that out, plenty of time for both sides. So, but May 17th, if that works.
What time?
Sometime between 5 and 6, what the council would like to see for that.
That's a Thursday, so it'll be Thursday. Yeah, I'm okay with 5 o'clock. Is everybody, was that whatever, is 5 o'clock or 6, is there a preference?
Just tell me when to be there, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I didn't hear that. What was
I think 5 o'clock would be fine.
So 5 o'clock?
Does it matter to the county commissioners, 5 or 6?
They said sometime between 5 and 6 is what I was told.
Okay.
So they left it up to us, I guess, to come up with the time.
So let's just make it 5 o'clock.
So 5 o'clock on the 17th, we'll let them know. I will get you out the tentative schedule that at least Commissioner Johnson provided during a meeting with him. And I'm sure they'll want to talk a bit more about it too. So again, we'll tighten that up at May 17th. Okay.
Okay, that sounds great. And so for the other considerations, we also had the think tank agenda order for this format.
Yeah, so I had a question, I received a question about whether there'll be public comment at the think tank. And my understanding of what we're proposing to do is really to have an opportunity to talk as a council, because we can only talk, as a whole group in an open public meeting. And, I feel like if we're talking about big picture policy ideas, it makes sense to have as much input as possible. So I would like to see, I would prefer to see public comment, even really kind of public participation in the particular topics at hand that we choose to bring up. And also the same for staff input too, because a lot of you have the expertise in these different areas. I was just thinking about it, there's 7 council members in a 2-hour meeting, it's about 15 minutes per council member if everyone brought one item that they wanted to discuss at the think tank. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. And so, my thought would be we, say, okay, what's going to be the agenda? Let's divide it up into maybe 15-minute chunks, run through the different items, say, okay, we're done for this time, and then if we have more time at the end, we can circle back to items that people wanted to discuss further. That's not a lot of time for a really in-depth discussion, so it might end up being something where we only tackle a few agenda items, but I'm not really sure how much other council members are looking at bringing forward at that.
I'm gonna have 15 1-minute items.
1 minute. So,
No, I think we're gonna have overlapping themes, is my guess.
I think so too. And the way I'm seeing it, at least this very first one, I think this very first one, I'd like to get a lot of those big stickies, and we'll probably have major categories like housing and county and health and, you know, that kind of stuff. And so then all the ideas that we all want to see, I think, are going to be, like you said, you have 15 items already, and I know my list is growing by the day, you know, even the issue of like the vacation rentals, that should go under housing, and items that we're going to discuss with the county, that could be another item. So all these items, I think, they'll end up in categories, and I think what I'd like us to do, especially just this first one, is identify all the different categories and potential items, and then very quickly prioritize them, so that next time we know what the agenda is going to be. And so set up the agenda from there on and say, okay, now we get 15, you know, these are the top 5 items we want to talk for this next think tank, and potentially keep working our way through. Does that seem okay for everybody on the think tank?
I like the idea of having it be brainstormy. It's a good word, but that's the approach. And I think there's still potentially a way to incorporate public feedback in that, public input rather. And then if we do prioritize and we say, okay, now we're going to talk about this think tank, we're going to talk about these particular issues, it would give us an opportunity to invite maybe people to the think tank who are working specifically in those areas, or for whom that might be a particular area of interest, to make sure that we're seeing a good big picture, which is not exactly what you're talking about. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
And I actually also, I think, you know, we've decided that public participation, or at least having a public comment period for all of our meetings was something we had agreed in our council rules. And so I think we can set the first 15 minutes aside and say, okay, you know, everybody gets 3 minutes and go, you know, that'll give us some input. This very first one is just, like I said, brainstorming, I think, the topics, and then we can go into detail in the future with all of them. We can play by ear, guys. If it's not working, we'll change it. Is that okay?
Yeah, I get it. I don't know, I kind of want to push back a little, just, I don't have any problems with what you're saying, it's all great ideas. I just want to get into policy, into practical solutions. I've been to a lot of brainstorming meetings, and I feel like in the QD, we have a lot of brainstorming meetings and not a lot of, okay, what are we actually going to do about it meetings?
Right.
So I want to have those meetings.
Okay.
I understand we might not be able to jump into those right away.
No,
But
like
that's,
I
I just want to, that's what I want.
Okay. Like I said, I think, I'm hoping this first one will get us organized and lay everything out, and then we'll put the priorities and we'll move forward.
That's totally reasonable.
Mayor, I'd like to ask, I've been working on calling it a temporary dwelling unit ordinance for a month or so, kind of sharing it out with different stakeholder groups. I've talked to you and Deputy Mayor Dexter, basically as a planner, and then you happen to be there. And, but I haven't talked to the whole council about that, and for that I apologize, because they're talking about the stakeholder groups, and now people are starting to reach back to council members about it and say, hey, you know, what's going on about this? And so I apologize that folks may have heard about it through that and not directly through a council meeting. But it is something that I have a draft. I'd like to get input on it from other council members, and I'd like to use a think tank to do that. And so, along with what Councilmember French said, is to actually get to the policy. I'd appreciate the opportunity to do that. So I could share it out for information purposes over email after the meeting tonight, and then we can discuss it. I hope that just a few minutes to actually get input from the other council members on it before trying to bring it forward at a business meeting, one of these meetings where it's much more, much less of a discussion format, much harder for us to really dig into the policy and what we like, what we don't like.
And I would say that it's great that you're a lawyer, and I can see that the idea gets written up as an ordinance, where I think the rest of them said, okay, here's our idea. And so, and I want folks to make sure that it's taken that way. This is one of the ideas that we can discuss and talk about the merits of. So I think it's very valuable, what you're doing, but I do know that there's major concern with folks that are calling it an ordinance, and then they're thinking, did this already happen, did this not happen? So that's the reason I'm cautious. I know that you put it in the format of an ordinance, so I would just caution that language, because it's, at this point in life, it's an idea, and then we're gonna hopefully have that discussion, and it could move forward to a final ordinance.
Just to clarify, I've said draft ordinance every
Yes,
time, or
I know.
proposed ordinance.
I totally get that, I totally get that, but believe me, sometimes that draft gets left off by other folks, where we're saying, oh my gosh, you have an ordinance, it's like, okay, it's an idea, think of it as an idea, not an ordinance, so. But I think we can, like I said, we'll bring it up at the think tank, hopefully we'll be able to, well, we get to the housing area, I'm sure there'll be lots of ideas there, and then we can prioritize that, and I think that we should be able to get some.
So one of the things, and I'll look to my left a little bit on this in a minute, but I know one of the things that the council needs to be really careful of is that at least the way that, the discussion is going about brainstorming or think tank, it's just a back and forth of the 100,000-foot view ideas. When you start getting into the weeds of something and start making, you can't take action at those types of meetings because they have to be noticed, you have to have an agenda, you have to put things out. So if you're going to be discussing an ordinance, then people have a right to know that you're going to be discussing an ordinance, and you need to notice it and have it out like we do typically any ordinance when you discuss it. So it's one thing having a think tank, a brainstorming session. It's another thing, I believe, and again, I'm going to be looking to my left here in a minute, to start talking about things that are actually well-defined, they're an ordinance, and to ensure the transparency of the process, and maybe that's the best way I can say it. You need to keep things in the right compartments and notice them the right way and make sure they happen the right way. So, and we're just talking right now, but I would say that with brainstorming session and think tanks, it gives you the idea in a very informal way to discuss things that you would, to decide if you even want to take them any further, to decide if you want to bring them forward to a full council meeting. It gives you that ability, and again, in just a non-threatening, informal way that you don't really get in a more formal process like we have right now. When you start going into that more formal process, it takes a whole different dynamic, and it really requires a different process. And
on top of that, I would caution the reply all function on your email. Be very, very careful about turning what is just a simple email exchange into what is called a serial meeting. That is one of the ways we can brush up against the Open Public Meetings Act very, very quickly, is if council members email each other a lot about city business. And so please go through staff so that we can help us keep from having that happen.
If I may. So I appreciate those clarifications from the city manager. I think that was great. One thing in the back of our minds is when since we're talking about process, it might be useful to us to have both a think tank and a policy committee.
Yep, I agree. I agree, because I think one would be like a free flow overall of information, the other one is refining
Yes,
that.
as the ideas come
as
out.
the ideas
And those
come
can
out.
be noticed and have
Yes. Yes.
agendas.
And that's actually, I guess how I saw things coming out that would go from our think tank, then it goes into whether it's the city plan, work plan, or it moves.
Yeah, I guess I envisioned the think tank as more of a policy committee. When both these ideas were being floated, I thought that it was kind of the same idea, so I apologize for that. And also just to clarify, the reason why some council members heard about this for the first time now and not through an email is because of my concern about serial meeting. And so I apologize for that, but I'm not going to talk to more than 2 other council members about an idea, because that creates a serial meeting issue.
All right, so, all done with that one? Yeah. So we'll move on to contracts and
Do you
purchases.
mind if we go back for a minute?
Yes.
Just to make sure. Sorry. Didn't I was the one that brought the short meeting, darn it. The reason is because I'm trying to think about staff's participation too. So what I've told staff, because of the way it was presented to begin with, that it's, I mean, I need to be there so that I can make sure that what comes out of that meeting, we provide you any follow-up information. But if you're going to be looking at topics and, laying topics out for future, then I'm sure the appropriate staff for that topic will want to make sure they're there, and we'll make sure they're there. But it wasn't the intent to have everybody there for those meetings. But again, I work at your pleasure. I'll make sure I'm there. But that was the intent, based on the intent of the council to begin with. So it is.
And this is an experiment, so we'll see how it works and whether we need more or less.
Well, I think most everybody's kind of curious up here. They'll probably be there anyways. But, so, yeah.
That's it. It's fluid. We'll try to make it work, and we'll be meeting at least for sure every month. And whether we end up needing to have a policy committee, adjacent to that, that could be one of the think tank ideas, and we can prioritize that. So, okay. Contracts and purchasing. The Marine Drive Sewer Repair Phase 2 Contract Award WW 1-18.
I've got that one. So this is a continuation of the Marine Drive Sewer Project that was done last year. The original project was a slip line, the failing concrete pipe between the mill canal and pump station number 3, which is at Hill Street, bottom Hill Street. During the lining, we found that about almost 300 feet of pipe had collapsed. There was no roofing on the inside of the pipe. We had to stop and could not line that section of pipe, leave that section from the contract, the previous contract, and we are now moving forward to actually excavate the pipe and replace it. It's the only way forward at this point. Went out for request for proposals. The little bid was $125,000 by 2 grade. We're asking for your approval to move forward with this contract. And this will minimize and prevent future damage from the hydrogen sulfide gas that is coming from down the pressurized pipe along with this hook. And now with that, I take any questions.
Any questions, guys? So I've got one. I was just wondering, in that when you're looking to replace that sewer, is there any need to upgrade that sewer to be either bigger or smaller, or is that just because it's a continuation, it should stay the same size, or?
No, there's no requirement to upgrade. This section of pipe is gravity. The pressurized pipe goes from the Coast Guard station down to the mill. At the mill, there's a catch basin manhole where then it goes to gravity down to pump station number 3, and it's of adequate size to handle flow.
And even the expansion with the Coast Guard station and all that?
Yeah, we're looking at the sewer requirements of the Coast Guard station. The ships are not permanently stationed there. The building that is being constructed, for weapons storage, it's not a permanent bachelor quarters like you'd find, so the sewer will be minimal compared to the rest of the Coast Guard station.
Wonderful, thank you. All right, council, what should we do with this one? So I guess I need a motion. Yeah.
I move that we approve and authorize the city manager to award and sign a construction contract with 2 grade for the Marine Drive Sewer Repair Phase 2, Project WW0118, for a contract amount of $125,607.85, including applicable taxes, and to make minor modifications to the contract if necessary, and issue change order or orders to the contract in an aggregate amount not to exceed the available contingency of $15,000.
Second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any more discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Thanks, unanimous decision. All right, next item, we've got the vehicle replacement solid waste refuse truck number 5801.
So this is the last vehicle approval of the evening. It's to replace a 2005 refuse truck, which will be surplus upon the arrival of the new one, assuming it gets approved tonight. We're expecting it, the new one to, if we order it, to be approved by in 2018. We're looking to get this purchased and under construction before steel prices escalate based on the tariff wars that could be happening in the near future. One item of note, Brian Coburn, my equipment manager, in the back of your hand, he's an expert on everything to do with equipment, so if you have any technical questions, he's there. But he went back and looked at the cost of the 2016 refuse truck, and he found out that between 2016, everybody sees the prices of these vehicles going up, but between 2016 and 2018, the cost of the exact same truck that we're buying now only went up about $700, which was a surprising fact that he was able to find out today. So we're getting a very good price, and with that I can take any questions you might have.
It says on the bottom here that upon addition of the new vehicle, we're going to surplus that vehicle. Are we surplusing that vehicle, or are we getting rid of the one from a year and a half ago? Or is the one that we're replacing now a bigger piece of junk than the one that we had a year and a half ago?
We are surplusing that vehicle, 5801.
And we're keeping the one,
No, I'm sorry. No, we have 5 trucks in the fleet.
Perhaps you can come to the microphone.
Yeah. So I got the mic. So we have a 2005, a 2005, two 2010, a 2015, and a 2016. So with the purchase of the 2018, the 2005 will be surplus, out of it, gone, sold. One of the 2010s will be the standby. And the standby process, which was recommended by council, has worked out tremendously in reducing overtime for staff. When a garbage truck breaks down, it can be in the shop for days, and then you have to reconfigure all the routes and overtime. So we keep the oldest in storage, but ready to go for those breakdowns. It's been really great labor savings. So, if that answered the question, probably too long to answer.
I think we should keep the 2005 because it probably doesn't have emission controls on it. Probably run a lot longer.
All right, any further discussion? No? All right, I need a motion.
I make a motion to approve and authorize the city manager to purchase a new solid waste refuge truck from Western Peterbilt through the city of Tacoma, contract ES 16-0477F for a total price not to exceed $333,559.25, including tax and accessories. Approve and authorize the city manager to make minor modifications to the purchase contract if necessary, and approve and authorize the city manager to surplus vehicle 5801 upon addition of the new vehicle to the city fleet.
Second.
All right, so we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It's unanimous. All right, so the next item is the harbor cleanup process. And so on this one, because I work for the Lower Awakon tribe, I will recuse myself. Fine, then go have a clean.
Madam Deputy Mayor, I will take this item tonight. Before you, we are taking on work order number 3 as part of our cooperation with the Western Port Angeles Harbor Potentially Liable Party Group. At this point, we are asking council to approve moving forward with work order number 3. That enables us to continue moving forward with the RIFS, or Remedial Investigation Feasibility Process. As you know, on April 6th, we did turn in a draft RIFS And as part of that, we will have a back and forth with Department of Ecology, as well as an ongoing public process that we anticipate taking on this year. As part of that work effort, you'll see the group is cooperating on those costs. The cost to the city of Port Angeles anticipated for this year as part of work order number 3 is $118,160. This was budgeted in 2018, and we are asking for council to go ahead and approve and adopt work order number 3, expanding the scope of work and budget of the environmental services agreement, and authorize the city manager to execute documents necessary and appropriate to implement work order number 3. Be happy to answer any questions.
Nathan, how much of the, is it the 118,000 that's covered by insurance, or is the full 590,000 covered by insurance? Do you know?
The vast majority of that will be covered by insurance. There's always an occasional fee that we receive that may be more challenging that we'll have to explore, but most of that work is always covered by insurance.
Most of the 118 or the 590? I'm just
So
curious.
the 590 is a group cost.
Okay, so
that is for all of the potential liable parties collectively. The only cost that is invoiced to the city is $118,000, and that will be forwarded to our insurance companies for payment.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well then I need a motion.
I move to approve and adopt work order number 3, expanding the scope of work and budget of the environmental services agreement, and authorize the city manager to execute documents necessary and appropriate to implement work order number 3.
Second.
Second.
I think Councilmember Meredith was the first second. Any further discussion?
I would just like to say, I feel like we should commend city staff and all the potentially liable partners for holding this group together through the draft RIFS, which I know can be sometimes challenging. And this process has moved considerably faster than another process in town that we're mostly all familiar with. So I'm happy that the project is moving forward and that we still have a working group.
I concur. This has been going on for a while, but our staff jumped right in on it and became part of the PLP group and has really moved it along much faster than any similar process has done. So I think staff has done an excellent job, and I really appreciate that. They're watching out for the people of Port Angeles in the best possible way, and they're doing a super job for us. Thank you.
Okay, so any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Did we do a motion?
Yes,
Okay.
thanks for checking.
All right, so we are on to council reports. So let's start with Councilmember Kidd.
I don't really have a report. I just have one request of Mr. Fulton, that if we could have updates periodically on the progress of the 8th Street fence. I know that the contractor's working on parts or whatever, so if there's any movement and when you find out the date that they'll begin to construction, if you just give us an update, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Will do that.
Thank you.
It's that time of year. If you're hungry at dinner time, go out to the baseball park. And watch the kids play. Cheap hamburgers.
Sounds good. Mayor?
I just want to, so I was at the Bike Everywhere Month planning meeting yesterday, and we have a really exciting lineup for this coming May, or next month. So pay attention for that. Maybe we can have a copy for information in our next packet, just so you have a copy, because there's lots of fun stuff. Also, this past weekend, I just think it's nice to highlight when cool things are happening in our community, and my 12-year-old raced in the Northwest Cup at Dry Hill this weekend for the first time and survived. I think everybody did. No broken bones that I'm aware of. Anyway, it was great, lots of people, and it's really nice to see those big draws to the community, especially during a slower time of year. And then also on a much smaller scale, but also kind of fun, Storm King CrossFit held ages just a number. It's a master's contest for over 35-year-olds. Were full, and lots of family members and other friend members came. A number of people stayed overnight and that sort of thing. So again, another cool event that brought people into the community. So it was fun to be able to see both of those this weekend.
And shoulder season too.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just going to share from Clallam Transit's board. The Clallam Transit System is working on a new comprehensive plan as a transit agency, and the first draft that's been presented by the Clallam Transit staff is really a fantastic document for looking at like planning policies and like what works, what doesn't for a transit agency. That's really kind of a fun thing to read. Did I say that? I meant that. As far as like how to plan in the minds of somebody who runs a bus company or runs a transit agency. I also want to share out, the Peninsula Regional Transportation Planning Organization has an executive board meeting this Friday. I'll be going to that. One of the things that I talked to some of the other people from the different agencies of Clallam County who participate in that is that it seems disjointed and potentially not very effective. And so what I'm trying to do is get together everybody who's a member of that from Clallam County so that we can have basically our own little contingent of discussion going into it so that we're more networked as a county in this 5-county network. It's Clallam, Jefferson, Grays Harbor, Mason, and Kitsap. So we're only one of 5 counties in this WashDOT coordinated regional planning process. We mentioned the Citizen Tree Board group meeting on the 24th. 6 p.m. at the Port Entrance Library, and then where else? I think that's it until May 1st when we're doing it.
Okay, I've got a lot. Went to a Port Angeles Downtown Association board meeting that was really good, and one thing that I know that we'll probably want to remember for the think tank is to talk about code enforcement, because that's always an important issue to the downtown business community. Also got to attend my first PA Forward committee, and we got to kind of have a presentation on what that committee has done over the past years, and I'm really excited. I think they've done great work, and I'm really excited to work with that committee. We had a little update on Race Street planning, talked about our wayfinding process that's going on. So I also, along with Kate, at a different time though, got to meet with our incoming Port Angeles School District Superintendent Martin Brewer, and got to meet with him and had a little short meeting with some other business leaders about just some long-term thinking, and I'm really excited for him. He's a very personable guy. He's going to be a really good breath of fresh air at the school district, and I'm really excited that we're going to get a chance to have him at City Council soon. And then earlier today, got to attend the meeting at the Clallam County Board of Health. It was really interesting. We got presentations from both staff from the Peninsula Housing Authority and from Serenity House, kind of talking about the on-the-ground state of our housing situation. And so it was a really great meeting. It's really exciting to see the Board of Health kind of take a leadership position on this. And so I think there's going to be a lot of coordination that can happen between governments. So I'm just excited to see public policymakers invested in these, big decisions that we're all going to, that really impact our community. And to leave on a positive note, yesterday, I met with a local artist from Squem who is going to help, and she's going to design and paint my downtown fountain piano so that as the weather improves, we'll have the same piano as last year, but it'll be painted and have, so I'm excited about that. And that's it.
I have a 2-part report. First part, actually both parts revolve around history. I had the pleasure on Sunday of attending the Scholarship Award ceremony for the hands-on history from Clallam County for Clallam County is sponsored by the North Olympic History Center. And 7 students ranging from 6th grade to 11th competed for college scholarships fund provided by the North Olympic History Center. And they had various topics regarding the history of Clallam County. And one of the things that was the objective was for the students to teach their parents history of Clallam County, because I would hazard to guess very few of us in school have had a history course on Clallam County. And they range anywhere from the Mastodon dig to Murgatroyd to the ferry across Lake Ozette. And so it was just an absolute fascinating work by these exceptional students. There were 7 of them, 7 finalists. 3 of them were going to be awarded the top scholarship funds. They had a very distinguished committee of judges that were there, and there was over 100 people in attendance at the Skills Center to recognize these fine students. They had to write an essay between 1,500 and 2,500 words on their topic and give us a demonstration on the history of Clallam County, and it was just absolutely fascinating, and it was just inspiring to see the length and breadth of the research that these young people did, and I was totally impressed. The second part also revolves around history, and I've been involved in a project headed up by Mr. Mark Abshire, which he's apparently not here, but I'd like to give you a little feel for what we're working on. With the able assistance of Carrie, our multi-talented staff person. Cody for the production of that film.
That was awesome.
Well done.
All right, so the report is that we did end up going to DC. It was one of those last minute Friday, well, yes, no, yes, okay, well, no. You know, so, and got a chance to meet with a lot of staff, a lot of legislators. We were able to attend a subcommittee hearing on the budget for the Department of Interior. Zenke was there, and so was Congressman Kilmer. He was wonderful in the way it all happened, because he was able to, he had 3 items to bring up, and water facilities was the second item. And we got some really good feedback from it, and Zenke said that he would personally get involved with that, so we were very happy to see that. In addition, I worked with Alan Bernard, and he's working on the Coast Guard cities, Coast Guard community application, and so we were able to get signatures with Mark Ozias on letters, so that they would, basically asking our legislators to please help support this item. We identified a person specifically who really works with the Coast Guard, and so it looks like we are going to have pretty good success in that as well. So that was really good. Anything else that I'm forgetting that I should have asked to add from our trip, because it was a crazy trip?
No, I think you did a pretty good job. I would just add that we were able to meet with our all of our congressional delegation, some of their primary staff, and since it was at the last minute, we're really appreciative that they worked us into their already busy schedule. So that was very helpful, bringing everybody up to speed on where we're at with both the National Park Service negotiations regarding the transfer of the Ottawa water facilities, as well as the Coast Guard designation that Mayor Brooke brought up to each one. We also had a meeting with some key staff, Department of Interior and the National Park Service, and relative to settlement negotiations, which we'll discuss with the council in executive session. So it was a very successful, I would say, meeting overall.
So, and then I guess the last thing is just to finish going to that Marine Resources Committee. I know that it's a really interesting committee, and they do take care of our natural resources. We had a presentation from Jamestown as to their oyster farming, which was really quite interesting. And then they talked about some of the beach cleanups that are going to happen and some of the different activities. So anyway, know that if you want to get involved, they're always needing volunteers from the resource committee. So with that, I guess with that, city manager report.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have a Lions Park tree update for you in your packet, and if you have any questions, you can get a hold of the appropriate director, which I think would be Director Delicott. He is gone for a few days. We also have a couple reports in your packet. As far as action items go, we will invite the new Port Angeles School Superintendent to a future meeting we'll work with between staffs and get that scheduled. We'll also make sure that we come up with a planned vehicle replacement presentation at the first year after the CFP is adopted, and of course the budget. Then we'll have a special presentation where we can go over all of those, and we'll work with the council prior to that time to make sure that it's really the presentation you want to provide you with the information, so that once you have that, it will help things, I think, throughout the year as those requests come forward. So we'll do that. And we do have, just to let the council, remind the council, we'll continue our executive session after this meeting, and we anticipate probably no more than 15 minutes with no action to follow.
Thank you. And I know that I worked with Corey on the Lions Park tree. I did want to bring this up for everybody to understand. It was a really interesting process. You know, first we had a neighbor who was complaining about this tree, so that it was too close to the property, it was damaging some of the property, and then we had another neighbor who didn't want this tree cut. And so with that debate, They asked me to come and take a look. I did, and it is a beautiful tree, but there were some issues with it. And so that helped to start some of the conversation. We had, as to try to put a process in when a tree in a park is going to be cut down, what is going to be the process. And so this issue was very well handled. It was very respectful from both ends. We got some professional folks to take a look at it, and thanks to that, except there is now a process in place to let everybody know when a tree is cut and what are the procedures that are going to follow for that. So, like I said, at first it was one of those debates as to, hey, we didn't hear about it, we just all of a sudden.
I think it's a great process. I commend you for helping spearhead that. I wouldn't look at the tree in question, and it's unfortunate we have to cut a tree down in these situations, but I just want to know how many trees we're going to replant there in this place. So that'll be something for the future.
Yeah, it is. Like I said, it is. I guess that's one of the things, although it is Arbor Day, and if you're going to go plant a tree, make sure you look up and find out, make sure it's not over the lines, and make sure it's, far away from driveways and structures, because those roots are going to get there. So that is, like I said, it's just a beautiful tree, and it's a shame where it's at, and so therefore it needs to go.
Can I ask for clarification? So we have that policy in place now, or it's in the works?
We have a procedure, but I don't think it's a policy.
We could codify it if you wanted.
Right, I think so. And I think there's, what came out of it was that with the park board, they were listing a procedure on how to go ahead and let people know. Because the issue was people didn't know that the tree was coming down. And the only reason she found out was because she talked to her neighbor. It's like, whoa, wait a minute, how come this is not posted? So I think a procedure was laid out on how to best make sure everybody knows the process.
I guess I'm asking if we have that procedure, then can we include that in the report as well?
Okay. Yeah, and I told you the truth, I went through this, but I didn't see it in here. So, okay. Yeah. That's good. All right, second public comment period. You guys were so excited the first one. Anybody out there who would like to talk to us about anything at all, please come up to the microphone. Still no interest. Cancel this one day. Okay. So with that, I guess we're heading up to executive session. So.
Yes, Madam Mayor, we are recommending an executive session of no more than 15 minutes with no action to follow. The purpose is to discuss potential litigation with legal counsel.
Okay, 5 minute break. Okay. 1 or 2 minute break and then.